Republicans put against Attorney General Merrick Garland yesterday. When asked by a reporter if the argument by House Republicans to hold Garland in contempt is undermined by the fact that some right-wing lawmakers, including House Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan of Ohio, have ignored their own subpoenas, Jordan's from the January 6th House Committee in 2022. Here's what Johnson had to say.
Well, I'm so glad you brought up the January 6th committee. We'll be talking a lot more about that in the coming weeks. There's been a lot of investigation about that committee. I don't think it was properly constituted. I don't think it was properly administered. And now we know that apparently some of the evidence was hidden and some maybe even destroyed. So you'll hear much more about that in the days ahead. You talk about apples to oranges. There couldn't be a more clear contrast between that and what we're talking about here. This is the Judiciary Committee. This is the Weaponization Committee. These are properly constituted and operating committees under Chairman Jordan's leadership, have done extraordinary work, methodically, constitutionally, appropriately, and now we come to this impasse with the Attorney General himself who refuses to comply.
Let's recall, of course, that it was Republicans who scuttled the original January 6th investigation. Joining us now, Republican strategist and MSNBC political analyst Susan Del Perstio. So just rank hypocrisy there from Speaker Johnson. But talk to us about just your thoughts on the Merrick Garland contempt vote, a political move to be sure, and one, as we see here, in bad faith.
Absolutely, and what I just can't help but think about what Chip Roy said last year on the House floor is when he said, or Congressman from Texas said, "We've done nothing here. Republicans have done nothing." And what they have continued to show is that they can't do anything. So they do these political maneuvers, trying to do something against Garland. Now, yes, Barr was held in contempt, or was asked to be held in contempt, and so was his predecessor. But this is all for political theater, and this is all being done, I believe, at the request of the Donald Trump campaign. They wanted these tapes of Biden so they could have audio for ads. I'm completely convinced of it. So it's just more of the same from the Republican House, doing things for Donald Trump and not moving any real agenda along.
And let's just underscore the transcripts already have been released.
Correct.
So, yes, there does certainly seem to be a faction of Republicans in Congress who simply do Donald Trump's bidding. Today, Donald Trump heads to Capitol Hill, and he will meet not just with loyalists, but also some who have at times stood up against him, and that includes Senate Minority Leader McConnell. What do you expect to come from today's meetings?
Well, I believe that Donald Trump will go there and give his marching orders. And there will be those who will absolutely sign on and do whatever he asks. And then there will others who will just kind of nod and give him lip service and say it was a very productive meeting and kind of leave it at there. This is all about what Donald Trump believes the Republican in the House and Senate can do for him. What can they do to give him an advantage in the 2024 election?
Well, let's talk about the 2024 election. We are 2 weeks from what will be a significant moment, the debate, when campaign advisors of both campaigns have said to me that they think that is the moment where most Americans will start paying attention, at least somewhat. What would your counsel be to both men as they prepare?
I think what both men have to do is realize what their trigger points are and know to keep them in check. That's much easier for President Biden, who has shown an ability to control himself, unlike the former president. But they each have points where they really know how to they get prickly, if you will. So it will be Donald Trump going after President Biden's son, most likely, and the president has to have that response there. And Donald Trump, I do believe that President Biden will go after Donald Trump as a convicted felon, as well he should. But I think this is definitely works to Biden's benefit because he knows how to hold his tongue a lot better.
Yeah, the Biden campaign has made clear that the president will still use the phrase convicted felon. And some in the camp have told me they actually think if he flashed his temper at Donald Trump, if Trump were to attack Hunter Biden, that wouldn't be a bad thing because it would be a very human, real response.
A temper is one thing, but going over or just kind of, with Biden, sometimes he stumbles along too much when he does it. He just has to have one clear, sharp response, and it could be anger.
And who do you think has more to gain or lose from the debate in 2 weeks?
I think that this is Joe Biden's to win. He should win it. If he does, it really discounts a lot of the arguments about him being fit. Whereas Donald Trump, I think, is just going to be a train wreck. If he's not a train wreck, though, then he's done himself some good, which will put things in a different perspective, I think, going towards the next debate in July.
Yeah, Trump finally hitting the campaign trail the next couple of days. President Biden returns from Europe and then largely will shift to debate prep up at Camp David. It is a big moment indeed. MSNBC